Welcome back to the Content Marketing Playbook. It's your host, Josh Culler with Culler Media. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about content and kind of continuing our platform content series, which if you go back a couple episodes, I started with Facebook, then went to Instagram and then YouTube and talked about I guess you could call it the ninja tips and tricks for putting content marketing out on those platforms. And so this is kind of continuing that series, talking about websites specifically. I get this question a lot. It's like, Josh, should I have content on my website, the same content that goes out to my social media platforms, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever? Should I also put that on my website? And so I'm going to be talking about the tips and tricks, my things that I will tell you and my other clients on my recommendations of putting content out on your actual website. The reality here is that you need to look at your website kind of like your hub of everything, because essentially you want people going back to your website because then you can capture their data and then remarket to them on those other platforms. So the way I like to look at content marketing is, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have LinkedIn, you have YouTube, you have your podcast, and all that is kind of the top layer of your funnel. And you're looking to drive people to the next phase of the funnel, which could be your website. And then ultimately when they land on your website, that's normally when they're going to make the conversion. So whether you're a fitness gym and you are looking to book appointments with clients for a 1 hour, hardcore workout session or whatever, you do that on your website. It's very hard to do that on Facebook and instantly convert people. Even though Facebook has those options now in certain ways, it's easier to get them on your website and booking that way. Plus, that's just where you want to go. Because the reality of the entire everything when it comes to content marketing, but marketing in general, the entire thing is that the truth is your website is something that you own. You don't own Facebook. You don't own YouTube. You don't own Instagram. You don't own any of the podcast platforms. So the reality is if somebody like an Instagram influencer, if they've built their entire following on Instagram and that's what they're banking off of completely, and they don't have followings on any other platform and they don't have anything going back to their website, if Instagram decides tomorrow that they're going to shut down because of some government regulation, or they just decide like, hey, we're just going to shut down, then they lose everything. So your website is something that you own, and you can own the content on there and the traffic that goes that way. And you can essentially like kind of build the content out however you want. Whereas like Instagram, you're only putting out 60-second videos. And if it's an IGTV video, it's got to be vertical. And then you're only putting out images or whatever content that you put out. Your website, you could do anything. So this is why I like the website so much, being able to put out content on there. And so we're going to talk about that here today. But before I get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the Content Marketing Playbook. We're on all the podcast platforms, however you're listening. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, then welcome. And if you're listening to the podcast, we also do this in a video format. So if you prefer that, then you can do that as well. Just go look for Culler Media on Facebook or YouTube, and you'll find these episodes there, along with a lot of other content that I put out. Make sure you are following me on Instagram. I'm going really hard at Instagram lately, something that I'm really putting a lot of equity into, putting content out and that sort of thing. So make sure you follow me, Josh K. Culler. And if you just search Josh Culler, you'll find me there. Somebody had the Josh Culler handle. I don't know who. Obviously, it's a Josh Culler, but I don't even know him, so we'll have to figure that out. But just search Josh Culler and you'll find me. You'll come across my page. So let's go ahead and talk about the topic for today. So website content marketing tips and tricks. Again, this is continuing on. So if you haven't listened to my previous episodes talking specifically about Facebook content marketing, about Instagram content marketing, and YouTube, go back and listen to those, just a couple episodes previously. At some point, I probably will talk about LinkedIn. Maybe next week we'll talk about LinkedIn specifically. I only like to talk about the platforms that I'm active on. So I'm probably not going to put out a podcast talking about TikTok or Pinterest or any other platform that I actually don't use, because I don't want to put stuff out there if I'm not actually being a practitioner of that. So website content. So obviously, again, this is all the things that I'm giving you. These are things that I do for my website, but I also help other people with their content marketing efforts on their websites as well. So this is no particular order of priority, so I'm just going to lay everything out here and just give you the rundown of what I recommend when it comes to content marketing. And there's a lot of things in between here and there that you can put out there content-wise, but these are kind of the pillars of what you want to look at and make sure content wise you have out on your website for sure. Now, I'm not a web developer. I'm not somebody that can, I can go in and build a website myself, but I'm not the type of person that, I'm offering this as a service or anything. And so I know a lot of web developers will have different opinions and different things that they would add to this or even maybe subtract. But these are the things that I do for, like I said, myself and clients, and this works for everybody that we've done it for. So the first thing is testimonials. I mean, this is like most of this stuff, guys, are things that you're probably already doing, and maybe there's just going to be like a nugget of information in here about maybe something you're already doing that you can critique and make better. So still listen up. But a lot of this stuff is things that you should already be doing, and you probably are if you have put any content on your website. But the first thing is testimonials. So this can be in multiple formats. And the reason why I love testimonials is because of that fact. So you can do a video testimonial and literally just have a video of one of your clients or one of your customers just talking about your product or service. Put that video on your website, there's a testimonial, right? That's a piece of content. But you can also do images. So if you go to my website, or if you even go to rei.video, the website that I have here, you'll find the little just like snippets of images that I created in Photoshop. You can also do them in Canva or whatever else if you're not familiar with Photoshop. And then those are just images that I put on my website, and they're testimonials. So they're just little segments that they said. Maybe I had, one of my clients, Mike Hambright, shoot a video for me talking about how much he enjoys our services and that kind of thing. And I just take a little segment from that, create a little graphic around that with his picture on it, and then post that. And that's really good content for your website when it comes to testimonials, because it's easy for somebody to consume as opposed to clicking and watching a full 2-minute video testimonial. They both have their places. And then the next thing is quotes. So actual, you're obviously using actual quotes when you're doing the images, but this is actual text. So this is text that is literally going to your website. And you can, so when I say text, meaning like you could copy and paste it. So if I go to your website and I select and highlight the text, that is text. Whereas you can't highlight text on an image, if you get my drift here. So quotes are another thing. So actual text quotes that you can put out there on your website. And what I would say is, this is what my coach tells me, my business coach. His name's Henry Kaminsky. He's the brand doctor, and he just is absolutely incredible when it comes to branding and web development and funnel development altogether and all that stuff. And he always tells me, like, sprinkle your testimonials out throughout your website. So don't lob everything in on the homepage, because that just gets tedious for somebody that comes to your website. They're wanting to learn more about what your product or service is, and they're cool with testimonials, but they only want a few snippets of that. This is why, if you take, for instance, if you go to an Amazon page and you select a product, they're going to have testimonials, but the reviews, right? Same thing, but you have to scroll all the way to the bottom to get to that. And there's a reason for that. It's because Amazon knows that, yes, it's valuable for people to see that, and that's why they have the average of the stars. So this product has an average of 4.8 stars out of 11,000 reviews. But that's why they put that up front and center, so it's not obnoxious, and it's just a little snapshot of what reviews are going on. Because naturally, like for me, if something's below 4 stars, I don't purchase it at all. I don't even click on the listing. And so then in order to read the reviews, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom, but it's still easy to get to, right? So people do want to see testimonials. They do want to see reviews, but they don't want it to be in their face, like everywhere they look, So sprinkle these things throughout. Put 1 or 2 videos on your homepage, put 1 or 2 images on your homepage, put 1 or 2 videos on your product page, on your booking page, your consultation page, all that. So like just sprinkle it throughout and make sure it's not obnoxious. Make sure it's not I would even go as far as to say, like, don't make it like the front center of your homepage. Like I've seen people do that where they literally just put a 20-minute testimonial video directly on their homepage. It's the first thing you see. That's a big no-no, because that's just going to deter people. So just be careful with that. But testimonials, obviously a big one, content marketing wise. The next one is very similar, but case studies, right? And so again, like my business coach, Henry Kaminsky, he likes to call them success stories. So for him, he creates brands. And so he obviously, if he creates a brand the right way, they're going to have success. His client's going to have success with the branding. And so he will get a success story for them. So same thing here. case study. So this is where, and I've done, an episode specifically on testimonials and case studies too, so you can go back and listen to that. But case studies are basically where it's a testimonial, except for it's coming out of your mouth. So you're actually saying what happened. So if I'm a fitness trainer and I had a client come in for 90 days that wanted to lose, 15 pounds and get down to 12% body fat, and they did it, then I'm going to jump on a video and explain how I was able to make that happen. So I'm giving a case study. So, I minused his calorie intake to 2,000 calories a day. I made him do 2 miles of running every single day and X, Y, and Z. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you're basically giving that workout routine for how that person got to where they met their goal. And that's a case study. So you're walking people through the process and telling them how your client or your customer got to success. And so case studies are really good, especially if you keep them, make sure again, you're not like over complicating it. Keep it short and sweet, something where it's bite sized. And I would say keep case studies between 1 and 2 minutes, because that's enough content in the video to be able to consume, and it's contextualized in your customer's brain. But it's enough to just kind of pack that in there and not be obnoxious with, going on for 5 or 6 minutes on how you help this person. You're just giving a little snapshot of it, and you don't have to make it complicated. So case studies are good. And again, be very frugal with these. So don't plaster them every single place that somebody looks. Be very careful with that. So make sure you are doing that. The next thing is information about your product or service. So these are just basically, and a lot of these things could also be mashups with each other. So you might have a full video of a product review, and then you have a little testimonial inside that video and a little case study inside that video. And you know what I'm saying? So, be smart with it. But the next one is information about your product or service. And this, again, most of these things can be video content, or it can be imagery, or it can be text. And I do recommend having all the above, because the more the merrier, and people are going to consume content the way they want. So for instance, if I land on a product page, if I'm going to say, for instance, I just bought this, if you're listening to the podcast, I'm showing this on the video. It's called NeuroGum. Let me see if it'll focus in on that. So it's called NeuroGum, and it's great, right? And so on their website, if you go to their website, they have a video up, they have text, like literally telling you about the product, and then they have little imagery, which is graphics below that, kind of all saying the same things, but they understand the landscape of the different clientele that they have, the different types of customers. Because I want to watch the video. I want to watch the 3 to 4 minute video, them talking about NeuroGum and what it does, why it's important, why would I choose their product over 5-gum, which is what I've been chewing for probably 12 years. Why would I choose that? And so I'm watching the video, whereas other people come to the product page and they want to read about it, or they want to see and visualize what's going on, not through video, but because maybe they're in a train station or they're at church or something like that, or in school, and they don't want to, click and watch a video in order for them to consume the content. So it's good to have all the above. And again, like, you need to be as visual as possible. And that's why content is so important. And that's why it will help you get people to understand how you're going to solve their pain points and what you're actually doing for them through the product or the service. So information is just literally telling people what your product does, what your service does, and what, like, you could even, it's information, right? So you're just telling the specs. So if you are a computer company, you're telling the specs of the computer. Why is this processor important? Why is it important to have RAM? Why is it important to have an SSD, a solid state drive over a regular hard drive, or that kind of thing? So you're giving specs, you're giving information about the product or service. The next thing is educational content. So this is a little bit different in the form of, when I have this computer and I'm telling people about the specs, I'm telling them about the RAM and about the SSD and all that stuff. I want to educate them on how to use the product better. So using, how do you use it, right? So again, like Samsung, I have a Samsung phone here, and Samsung has a lot of really good content on their platform, both informational and educational. So they actually have tutorials on how you actually can use your phone better, right? So, hey, did you guys know on the camera feature, you can do X, Y, and Z? And that is really good, because what happens is, when I learn about that new feature that they put on the camera, it bumps the value up of the phone itself for me, because I just learned that it does something that I didn't know it could do. Same thing with my Tesla. So if you didn't notice, I'm wearing a Tesla hat. I just bought a Tesla a couple weeks ago. And every single time I get in the car, I learn something new about it, right? Like, I mean, there's literally Easter eggs every single time I look at the car, or every single time I talk to somebody that already has a Tesla. They're telling me something new that the Tesla can do. And I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. And so Tesla does a really good job. So even before I got the car, they sent me a page literally of tutorials on how to operate the vehicle and how to operate the touchscreen, how to go into autopilot, how to open the front trunk, how to open the back trunk, and all this other stuff that like I would have never been able to learn. And it actually would have made me as a customer frustrated because I didn't know how to operate the autopilot correctly, or I didn't know how to open the front trunk or how to charge my car. But they did a proactive job on educating me on what I needed to do in order to operate their product and get the most value out of it that I can get. So, and if you guys have like, if you guys want to visualize this kind of, these examples, like reach out to me, josh@colormedia.com, and I'm happy to send you links to like all this stuff that I'm talking about. So I can send you a link to the page that Tesla sent me to when I was learning about how to operate my vehicle. And it's a really good example of how to actually make it happen. Okay, so the next thing, and that kind of goes along with, tutorials. So tutorials are a really good way to put content out there on your website and actually show people how to use your product. And that's, I guess that's the way you could look at it is, hey, this is a tutorial of how to actually operate the Tesla. Or if you're, you have a camera company, Canon, and they say this is actually a really big flaw for Canon, and in my opinion, is they don't put out enough content telling people how to operate their cameras. And so I have to go to YouTube to third-party people that have Canon cameras and rely on them to tell me how to use it. Whereas Canon should be proactive and say, here's how you use the EOS R. Here's how you change your exposure. Here's why f-stops are important, or here's why you should go into blank mode instead of blank mode. All these different things. Canon doesn't do that. And so that's a really big flaw with them. So make sure that you take that example. And again, it's just tutorials, teaching people how to use your product or service, because at the end of the day, if they don't know how to use it and get the fullest extent out of it, they're never going to see the full value of it. So it's your job to make sure you do that. And that goes along with services as well. And so make sure you do that. And that's all content that you can fit onto your website. You could even have, I've seen websites where they even have, how does it work? So at the top of the tab, you'll have home, you'll have contact info, who we are, about us. And then I actually see a lot of times, which is really good. I love the idea, how it works. And you have a tab that literally says how it works. And then it takes you to the page, and it literally tells you how to operate the product or the service. And so I think that's a really good example for you to take advantage of, no matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter. All right. So the next thing is video article pages. So I love this idea. I'm so sorry I just hit the camera or the microphone. But video article pages. So the reason why I combined these is because I love the concept of taking a video that you have that you maybe already distributed it to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all these other platforms. You transcribe the video, and then you create a full article page on your, let's just say for instance, it's your blog page on your website, right? So this is all on your website, and you can do this on other blogging platforms, but this is for your website. So on your website, you have a blog section or an article section, same thing. And people go to it and they can actually look at different things. Maybe it is your tutorials, and maybe it is your informational videos or your educational videos or your testimonials. And what you do is you transcribe your video, create an entire article with the transcription as the article itself. Now you will want to go in and edit. I use temi.com to transcribe my videos, TEMI.com. Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. I don't know why. But TEMI.com. I love it because it's 25 cents a minute, and normally they can get it back to you in less than like 4 or 5 minutes. And so it's the best, and the accuracy is really good. But you will want to go in and edit and clean it up a little bit so that it doesn't sound like it's directly transcribed, but that you're actually writing it. That's what you want it to sound like. And so you take that entire transcription, put that on the article, and then embed your YouTube video onto the actual article itself. So it's the same content, but you're pulling from the YouTube itself, which is, what is it? It's a search engine. So if somebody searches specifically for how to lose 10 pounds in 7 days, then they can actually find that video and then an article along with it. So if they aren't in a place again, or they're just characteristically, they don't like watching videos, they want to read about it, then they'll read about it because the entire content is in that transcription. So take that transcription, put it on its own article page, and then embed the video right below it, and you're golden. It's good to go. And so I love doing this because it creates really good SEO because it's going to be keyword rich, but also you're tapping into another search engine, which is YouTube, because your video is embedded in YouTube. But like, for instance, if you ever go to Google and you search, so let me give you an example. Like for me, if I go to YouTube and I search how to charge my Tesla in a YouTube video. So if I Google that straight up, I'm not on YouTube, but I just go to google.com, how to charge my Tesla. A lot of times I'll just click on the video tab. So you guys probably know what I'm talking about. So it'll pull up your results, and I go over to just video because I want to see in video and visualize what I need to do. So I'll click on that. And a lot of times it's not just YouTube it's tapping into, but sometimes it does. And a lot of times it just takes you directly to your website page. And so when I click on a video that matches my search result, a lot of times it won't even take me straight to YouTube. It just takes me to the website, the article that the YouTube video is embedded on. And that's what you want to happen. And that's a really good way to do it. So this is how you do that. And so there's a lot of really good benefits to it. Again, like search engine wise, it's just a master at it. So try that out. The next thing is good writing, SEO, and keywords. Now, I'm not huge into SEO, so let's just put that out there, right? But I understand it. I know it works. So this is content-wise, writing, the actual writing on your website. So all the text. So whether that be about us or how it works or anything on your homepage, the writing function of your website is probably the most important, because that's what the search engines scrape when somebody is, when they're delivering search results for somebody, when they go to Google and they search how to lose 7 pounds or 10 pounds in 7 days. If your website is rich with content that's relevant to that search result, then they're going to put that to the person who searched it. So, and the data that they're scraping is the writing. So pour a lot of equity into the writing. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I have done a full podcast episode on writing for content, but just make sure that you're putting a lot of equity into this. And if you're not a good writer yourself, hire somebody. Go to Upwork, find somebody that's a good writer that can write all of the articles and all of the copy that's actually going into your website, because it's extremely important, probably the most important thing on your website. So put a lot into that. Winding this down. So the next thing is proof. So this is the last thing that I've got here, but proof. Proof is vital, right? And it's not always the form of testimonials. It's not always the form of case studies or information, education, tutorials, and all that. But it's a lot of times all of that wrapped into one. And so proof that your product works, that your service works, and that's content-wise, there's so much that you can do with it. Again, it could be videos, it could be images, it could be quotes. But let me take you back to my example of my business coach, Henry Kaminsky. If you go to his website, uniquedesigns.net, he's got an entire section, and the tab is called Media. So you click on Media, and he's got an entire section of all the podcasts that he's been on. And that's proof. And I think he's got like 50 episodes or something like that of him starring on a show. You know, he's a guest on somebody else's show. And he's been on some pretty big shows before. But all of that is proof right there. All that content right there is proof that he is who he says he is and claims he can do. So that's why it's important. And a lot of times media, when it comes to, like, I've seen I work in the real estate investing industry, and I've seen realtors or real estate investors, not realtors, real estate investors, they get featured on their local news network. So they'll take that video from YouTube and they'll put that on their website and say, hey, we were featured here. So if you ever go to a website and it, you know, for instance, I went to NeuroGum's website, and they have like a bunch of really big publicity names on their website of, you know, them being featured on like either their magazine or their articles, videos, or whatever. So they'll have like, I'm not sure exactly what they have there, but they've had like Forbes or Huffington Post or CNN or something like that. And they have those logos, right? And this is the same thing for the Better Business Bureau. So if somebody has a Better Business Bureau tag, the BBB tag on their website, that's proof right there. And that is also content. So these are things that you can put on your website in order to articulate the proof that you are who you say you are, and you have existing evidence of that. And so that's why people do that, is that's like content. You know, if you ever go to a speaker and, you know, somebody who's a professional speaker, and they'll have like all these like Forbes, Huffington Post, and, you know, Entrepreneur Magazine and stuff like that. That's the reason, is because it creates proof that they are who they say they are. So that's all content though. And you could also take that, you know, that article that you did on Forbes and put that on your website and say, hey, look at me. I was on Forbes. This is proof that I am who I say I am, because I was published in one of the largest business magazines on the planet. So that's all I got for you guys today. I think this was a little bit lengthier than I wanted it to go, but that's okay. This is all really good stuff that you could fill your website with. Like I said, there's probably plenty other things that you can throw onto your website content-wise that makes sense, but these are the things that these are the must-haves. These are your essential content marketing tools that you got to put on your website. So make sure you do that, and reach out if you have any questions. josh@colormedia.com, colored spelled C-U-L-L-E-R. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the show. And then if you're on Apple Podcasts, head over right now to the homepage for the show. Leave me a 5-star review. I'd much appreciate that. Thank you guys for joining in today, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.